everybody. This is episode 3 of our coaches interview, a part of our new Time to Sign Connect. Today we have with us Coach Eric Reardon from Wagner College. Wagner College is a Division I program in Staten Island, New York, a part of the Northeast Conference. Coach Reardon, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, Matt, thank you for having me on, man. It's a pleasure getting to hop on here with you, and I'm excited about it.
Awesome. So to start, let's kind of go over, how did you get to where you are today? Tell us kind of your story of baseball and where your love for the game comes from.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in a baseball family in our household. My dad um, started his career as the PA announcer for the Marietta College baseball team all those years in the 80s when they were going to the Division III World Series. So right from the roots of my family, we're a huge baseball group. And then fortunate enough that my dad was able to be the equipment manager on Coach Fred Hill's staff at Rutgers when I was growing up. So spent a lot of time in the dugout around Coach Hill and those guys when Rutgers was winning a ton of Big East championships back in the day. So that was really where it started for me. My earliest baseball memories are running around the Rutgers dugout and being at, Baton Field before it was even called Baton Field and before they had the turf there. And that's where things got started for me. Growing up, grew up in North Brunswick, New Jersey. So got a chance to play for Rutgers alumni Ryan Lillis in high school. Came up at North Brunswick Township High. Played there, played for the baseball warehouse through travel ball here locally in New Jersey, and then was fortunate enough to go to college and play at Rutgers, the team that I grew up rooting for. So that was a dream come true from a player's perspective. When I got done with undergrad, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go the business route or stay in baseball. And then it seemed like a no-brainer to me once Connor Cortman at Rutgers Newark offered me his pitching coach and his grad assistant position. The decision was made before I really had to weigh the options. I knew I wanted to stay in the game. So my first 2 years after I graduated from Rutgers, so that I graduated in 2021, hopped on staff with Connor Cortman at Rutgers Newark for 2022 and the 2023 seasons. And now here I am at Wagner for 2024. So fortunate enough to build some relationships through the network where Connor Cortman's father, Roy, was the softball coach, still is the softball coach at LIU. Our head coach at Wagner, Craig Noto, coached the baseball team at LIU for many years. So the connection I had with Coach Noto through the Cortman family was a strong one. I got to coach a lot of Noto's camps while I was at Rutgers Newark. And then his pitching coach job opened up last summer, so I was lucky enough to get the call from him and join the staff here at Wagner. And that kind of puts us up to where we're at today.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I know Coach Noto is a very good friend of the program. I know him and Burge have known each other for a long time, and he's been working a lot of our time to sign events for a long time. So we appreciate you guys' program and your time.
Yeah, it's awesome. The relationships that we grow through the game of baseball are definitely something that we always appreciate. So great to be on here with you guys. Great to have the connection with your program that we do, especially since you guys do such a great job.
Awesome. So I guess first thing I always like to ask is, because every program's got a different mold and different way that they look at, potential athletes. Like for you guys, what would you say, what is you guys' mold for recruits? Like, what are you guys looking for?
The main two ingredients, the first one is always the makeup of a kid. So the first question I'll always get from Noto when I run a name by him or a prospect I might have seen that I like is what's the makeup? Dig in on what kind of person this kid is. So the big kind of framework around that is we have to spend a lot of time with each other when it comes to developing as baseball players, to playing in the springtime, from the last week of August when school starts and we start our fall season through hopefully the middle of July when the season ends with some postseason appearances. That's a ton of time that we're going to spend with each other between the coaching staff and a team of players. So we want to build a team of talented ball players that are really good kids both on and off the field so that we develop and cultivate an environment of people that we enjoy spending time around. I think something that we've talked about recently is we want to have something that we're fighting for. And if we're all pulling in the same direction rather than button heads and that being our source of motivation, we think that that's going to make us a successful program. And then the next step something I'll always say is, everybody wants to talk about the metrics, right? So you have your exit velo, how hard you can throw your fastball, spin rates on your pitches, and how fast you run your 60. I tell kids all the time, your GPA is a metric that we measure and track just as much as any of those on-field metrics. So, what it comes down to is if you're taking care of your business in the classroom and off the field, is one less thing you have to worry about on the back of your mind while you're trying to win baseball games. So the main two ingredients: how good of a person are you? What kind of makeup do you have off the field? And then are you able to take care of your business in the classroom? It's kind of a baseline at this level that you're going to be a talented ball player. So a couple of those other things that'll separate you are things that we've tabbed importance to that are going to get you into our program.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something that guys we try to talk to them a lot about is they don't really understand because like travel ball in high school, you're with your team and you're gone. In college, I mean, you're spending 70, 80% of your day is with that 40 to 50, group of men that are all there for a common reason. So I guess this leads to my next question is like, what are some ways when you're going to a game, like how do you see if a guy like, all right, that guy's a good kid, that guy's a good teammate? What's some like out of the box score things that for you are going to be like, all right, I like this kid right away?
I think the easiest one right off the bat is it visible that you enjoy the game? So the typical stuff that I'm sure a bunch of guys have heard before, are you sprinting on and off the field? Are you running out pop-ups and ground balls? Do you have some passion and some energy outside of just making your pitches or taking your swings? How much can I see that you get excited about your teammates' success as much as your own? What kind of attitude do you have on the field? How do you carry yourself? And I think that's a little more of an ambiguous, generalized answer. But as baseball people, we all see it. Like, are you picking up your teammate if you're a pitcher, after your shortstop boots the ground ball, do you pat him on the chest and say, "Hey, I got you. I'm going to pick you up"? When your guy comes around and scores a run when your team's on offense, are you the first one out of the dugout to give him a high five or whatever it might be? So there are definitely visible ways to tell what kind of a teammate you are. And then you know, we're fortunate enough with how the summer ball circuit goes these days that we get a chance to go down and talk to coaches while we're out at events. And I think, when we come in as outsiders and we're watching you guys for the first time, sometimes it's difficult to get a grip on what kind of a guy you are, but being able to go up to coaches and build relationships with them and their programs, you get an understanding of, hey, what kind of kid is he? And coaches will shoot it to you straight. I think that's something that's important for guys coming through the system to know is, you know, you we hope that you can, be mature enough to develop relationships with your coaches and your teammates where they're gonna have nothing but good things to say about you once that time comes to ask the question. So again, it boils down to the same thing. Kind of on baseline, we know guys are going to have talent. So if we can see that you care about the game and your teammates outside of just yourself, and then when we ask about you to your coaches, they say, "Hey, this kid works hard, and this kid loves the game, and this kid loves his teammates." Then we kind of know that foundation is set.
Yeah, well, and then the story I'm going to tell too, a little bit to lead off of that is for the guys watching is I remember this past summer, had a coach walked up to me and I said, "Hey, who you like?" And he mentioned a kid's name. The kid had like an 0 for 4 game, just four probably not great at bats, but he said, "Man, he was the first guy on the field. He ran out balls hard, and he was the first guy at the dugout to congratulate his teammates." So that's something like it's good to hear from you as well because you try to tell these guys it's not all about hitting 4 home runs in a game. It's not all about, striking everybody out. Like they want to know that you're going to be a good dude when stuff goes bad because everybody's great when it's good. But like
Absolutely.
true measurement of your character as a player is, when stuff starts to get bad, how do you react? Do you go into a shell and you're all about yourself, or are you still playing for that name on the front of the jersey?
Absolutely. And the reality of our game, like everyone's heard before, is it's a game based on failure. So, kind of trying to develop an understanding of how you handle that failure, how you pick yourself up, and how you can pick your teammates up in the face of that is a really important ingredient when it comes to the recruiting process.
Yeah, and then for you guys too, like another thing, trying to teach the kids a lot about is like mental toughness. Like for you guys, like how much are you looking at a kid's mental toughness when you're going to watch some of his games and like factoring in if like, I should take this guy or that guy?
Yeah, I think those topics are definitely related. It comes down to we play in a really competitive league in the NEC. So something that we preach at practice and during our games is that throughout a game there's going to be adversity. So if we can, you get in these tournaments at Diamond Nation or at Baseball Heaven or wherever it might be locally here. You play some pretty good talent and you play some pretty good teams, and the games are super competitive. So when it comes down to you give up a leadoff double when your team's up one. How are you responding? It's pretty easy to tell based on body language if you have that confidence in yourself and if you're okay with dealing with adversity, or if you're a fair weather, smooth sailing guy. So I think that ability to handle adversity between the lines and your body language, how you're projecting yourself, says a lot about that kind of character and what you have in the tank from a mental toughness perspective.
Yeah, and exactly, and something we're trying to teach the guys too as well is like when you're a freshman, you walk on campus. Like a big thing for coaches that if they're going to play you or not is can they trust you? And the one thing they can tell right away is if they can trust you is when he does get that failure for the first time, is he a guy that's going to crumble or get me the ball, let's go, let's get right back into it. So letting the coach know that he can trust you in those situations consistently is what's going to be the determining factor whether you're sitting in the bullpen the whole game or you're getting out of that bullpen a lot during a 60 56 game season.
100%. And I think from a guy transitioning from high school into being a freshman in college, a huge factor is you're probably coming from an environment where you play all the time. Like you're the guy on your high school team, you're the guy on your travel team. And there are certainly outliers. There are guys that step on campus and they're the guy at their position from the moment they get there. But the flip side of that is from a quote unquote failure perspective, the adversity you might face as a freshman is you've played every inning of your entire baseball career up to this point, and now there's a junior or senior in front of you at your position. Are you still willing to put in the work to develop with the understanding that when your opportunity comes, you can still get in there and succeed? It might not necessarily be that you're going 0 for 4 or you got tagged a little bit on the mound. It's just that, you don't have the amount of opportunities that you're used to having up to this point in your career, and are you still willing to put the work in so that you're prepared when those opportunities arise rather than just saying, how come I'm not playing?
Yeah, and you being a pitching guy, you focusing more on the pitching side. It's like a guy for me when I'm watching a game. It's like you attack the zone, you give up a couple hits. Don't go away from it just because you give up a couple hits, right? Like don't you have a plan? That's one thing I feel like with high school kids a lot of times when they get to college is one, they probably don't even know how to have a plan. They don't have like a what do they want to do? What's their plan for this certain at bat? But then if that plan fails one time, it's like, oh, it's gone. And I think one thing in college, and you can start to touch on this a little bit with the pitching side, is like, have what you feel like you need to do, and then be able to stick to that plan, even if you have a little bit of failure in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're super fortunate with the resources we have from a scouting report perspective. That helps us kind of build a plan about how we're going to attack a lineup that we're playing against. So we had a really good example yesterday. We played a tough game against a tough Stonehill team, and freshman pitcher does a heck of a job coming in out of the pen in a tight ball game, and it didn't necessarily go his way on the mound yesterday. And when I come up to him in the dugout after he finishes his inning, I was like trying to pick his head up, and he says to me, "Coach, I know I'm good enough to succeed in this situation, and I'm a little bit frustrated that it didn't go my way." So that's the kind of thing from a pitching perspective that I love to hear from anybody, but especially from a young guy, where even though the ball didn't bounce his way that day, he's coming out of the game saying, I know I'm good enough to get this job done, and his mind is solely focused on like he wanted to go back out there and do it again, even though that's not an option for us. But knowing that I can go up to, especially a young guy, and he's got that confidence and that air of poise about him, even in the face of that adversity, is something that helps us from a plan of attack perspective. We don't have to shift our momentum. We don't have to change anything we're doing. We just have to continue to put our nose to the grindstone because we have guys coming out of the pen for us. We have guys starting for us, throughout the staff that have the confidence in themselves and their abilities to execute a plan of attack and continue to maintain that confidence even when things might not go their way.
Awesome. So now we'll kind of like shift a little bit back kind of into the recruiting side in this new age of recruiting of emails and, things that have changed within the last 10 years of even when I was getting recruited in 2018. So it feels like the world's changed completely with the portal and the emails. So for you, I want to kind of highlight the email thing. When you get an email from a kid, what are some things, one, that you want to see, and then two, that are going to make an email stand out from the thousands of emails I'm sure you're getting, daily?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'll always say is like our inboxes are full all the time. So if the first couple of times you send out an email or a DM on Twitter, you don't hear back, like continue to sell yourself. Like don't think that your correspondents are falling on deaf ears. If you're passionate about our school and our program and you're interested in coming here and we haven't responded to you yet, like keep sending the emails. Keep sending the emails. I think metrics today's day and age are huge. So like in that email, if you're able to link a PBR account, a perfect game account, whatever the platform you use is where we can get your eyes on your numbers pretty quickly, that's something that's always helpful. The video is always helpful to be able to see what you can do in a game. I think something that gets overlooked a little bit is like send your high school and your travel ball schedule because there are days even now as the high school season has started and we're still playing where we have an off day and we're able to get out and see you play. That's something that's really valuable to us is saying like, hey, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm not just going to try to rely on these couple video clips. I want you to come see me at my games. A big ingredient from a pitching perspective is guys will send me videos of their strikeouts, and that's awesome. Like it's great to see that you have the ability to get batters out. A thing that's always big is if you can get us a video with a radar gun in it, if you can get us a video with the TrackMan or the Rapsodo data attached, just having those metrics available attached with the videos of your success results wise on the field is something that's a really big separator.
Awesome. So I guess we'll go through a little bit of the process so the kids kind of understand like how you guys do it. So let's say, you come out and watch player A, he's a pitcher. You like him. Like he's a 25, we'll say, since
Right.
putting calendars open. What's the next steps for you guys once you see a guy like that? What are you going to do next?
So typically, if we're at a tournament, we're at a game, try to grab the kid's coach and say, get a little bit of info on who the kid is, try to get contact information. So usually that first reach out is like a text or an email or a DM saying, hey, like I'd love to set up some time to jump on a phone call with you. Once that phone call's set, we'll jump on. We'll have that conversation. We have a couple of great resources, just links that we put together about our baseball program, our campus, and our academics at our university. So the first step usually is take a look at this information, get your eyes on what a kind of behind the scenes look of our program looks like. And, if any questions pop up, if there's anything you're interested in, get back to me. You have my number now. Let's have that conversation. From there, as we send out that information to the guys, we're always looking for their transcripts just to make sure we can cover everything from an academic and administrative end so that, the rest of the conversation from there can just be about baseball. So once we tackle all that administrative stuff, we get some of those academic documents. We send out some of our information about our program, our campus, our academics at Wagner. Um, it's about high school schedules, it's about travel schedules, and then once we get into the summertime, we'll have our prospect camps. So one part of that, transaction and process is a lot of the times from the recruiting end, the player is dealing with one coach on the staff. What our camps give us a really great opportunity to do is take these guys, maybe I've been going to Noto saying, hey, there's this arm that I really like in the 25 class. And I've been able to see him pitch 4, 5, 6 times, but our hitting coach, our infield coach, and Noto, our head coach, haven't gotten a chance to see him live yet. So being able to get the entire staff's eyes on a guy at one of our prospect camps is something that's really valuable to us. It gives us a chance to spend some time with the kid and see his type of personality in our environment. And from the kid's perspective, he gets a chance to come on campus. He gets a chance to be in our ballpark, meet a couple of our guys that we have at the camp, and get a feel for the environment, both from a, physical field and stadium standpoint, make sure he likes our digs, and then get a little more intimate atmosphere with the coaching staff where, that relationship can continue to develop. So we put a huge emphasis on our prospect camps. From there, once the whole staff has seen you, that's when it gets to be a little more pedal to the metal, if you will, from a finishing touches standpoint when you get to offers and roster spots and that kind of thing. But leading up to that point, it's the phone and electronic conversations. It's making sure we have the academic stuff covered, and then making sure we get as much info on the front end to give the kid the full picture of what our program and our school looks like.
Yeah. So you mentioned academics are with you guys at Wagner. Are there any kind of standards of academics from a school perspective that like you have to be at this number, have to be at this GPA test score to even be considered to get in, or what does it look like for you guys?
So coming out of high school, like if you're, the higher the number, the better, obviously. Our academics department does a good job and, with the staff involved, but also from an academic standpoint perspective or academic package standpoint, excuse me. So, what that means is the better your grades are, the little bit easier that burden's going to be when it comes to the dollar figure. Because college can start to get expensive with the loans and everything that are super prevalent anyway. Um, above a 3.0 and you're in consideration, the higher that number gets above the 3.0, the better standing you're putting yourself in, and the little bit easier it's going to be from a financial standpoint once we get to talking those numbers. Um, but yeah, I mean, SAT optional at Wagner, so that's something that is usually an important ingredient from a kid's perspective. But nevertheless, the more success you have in the classroom that you can show through your transcript or your test scores, the better that financial situation is going to be for you when you come to paying for classes and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean above a 3.0 and you're in consideration, but again above that number, the higher you get, the better it's going to be for you.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the higher the grade. And it's kind of basically what you're saying. We talk a lot about to the guys like being a low maintenance guy, being a guy that, you take care of your business no matter where you are. So I'm seeing it's a common theme across a lot of the programs we've talked to. It's like they're looking for guys that are great teammates, they play hard, and they take care of their business no matter where they are. So
Yep, that's a message that we'll send to guys both in visits with recruits and even with team meetings that we do at the beginning of the fall and when we come back for the spring semester is we have to be really locked in on the baseball end of things. So if you're a guy that's really good at communicating with your professors, communicating with the housing, communicating with student health if you get sick or something happens, communicating with the athletic trainer if you're injured. If you're a guy that is mature enough to handle that side of your business on your own, that's part of growing up. So like once you get to college, you're out on your own for the first time. You're not living with mom and dad anymore. Um, if you're a mature enough guy where you can take care of that stuff and kind of check those boxes, that says a lot about the character that you hold within yourself, but also those are variables you don't have to be concerned with or have weighing down on you when you step in the box or go take the mound. So that part of developing into a man and hopefully teaching these guys how to be adults and individuals that are successful within society while they're successful in baseball is something that is a huge asset to have, as the player.
awesome. And then to kind of go back to a point you made earlier, like with relationships with travel ball teams and coaches and high school coaches, like how big of a deal is it when like you guys at Wagner, for an organization like us at Time to Sign, how big of a deal is it to have the right people in your corner when going through this recruitment process?
It's really the whole deal. Being able to have people around you that you can trust is invaluable when it comes to this process. And I think from that perspective, a huge part from a player's side is always finding a good fit. So, a lot of what goes on with social media today is, kids want to post, I got this offer and I got that offer. And, they want to take the pictures on the official visit and be decked out in the gear and stuff. And that's awesome. Like this is a thing as a recruit that you should celebrate. But no, like knowing that we can call coaches at the travel ball or the high school level and they can say, hey, I think this kid's a really good fit for you. This kid's really interested. Or, hey, maybe this isn't the best fit for the kid. Maybe he needs something different, or even something as simple as he really wants to be an engineer and you guys don't have that major, or he really wants to be a business major and he might want to play at this school, but then he's got to switch up his total background academically. There are so many variables that factor into that, and being able to have high school and travel ball coaches that have a little more insight into the recruit up to that point in his career is something that can make sure, if and when we get a kid on campus and on our roster, he's going to be as happy to be here as we are to have him. Just as much as, we're going to spend a ton of time together and we want to have the right guys and the right culture. We certainly want to provide an environment where somebody's going to be here for 3 or 4 years and they're going to enjoy their experience. So I think from that perspective, having a relationship with the high school and travel ball coaches and having guys that we can trust, knowing um, they're putting us in a really good position, and then we're going to bring their guys in and they're going to enjoy it, that helps build the momentum from both sides. You guys at time to sign, for example, can say, hey, we've sent a number of guys to Wagner and they've really enjoyed it there. That's valuable for us. And then for us to say, hey, we have a program in time to sign that always sends us good guys that are on top of their stuff and they're good baseball players. Well, obviously, that's what we're looking for. So having that mutually beneficial relationship is super important.
Awesome. And I guess my final question when it comes to travel ball, and this is something we try to get across a lot with the guys, and sometimes it's a little pushed away because they're like, oh, I want to hit the home runs, I want to do all that. But like, how much when it comes to travel ball does like team success over just like individual success, kind of play a role in like when you're looking at potential recruits?
Yeah, I think team success is a huge factor because that's something that's gotten kind of lost in the travel ball circuit these days. Is as well as anybody that you'll go to these tournaments and they're just round robin style, and you're not playing for a trophy every weekend like it might have been when you and I were going through that process. So um, the bottom line is once you get to the college level, it's about winning baseball games. It's no longer simply about your metrics or how well you showcase. So we have a line within our staff where there's showcase players and then there's baseball players. So there's a lot of guys with some super ability talent wise. How does that translate into the ability to win baseball games when you get on the field? So I think, um, just because your team might not be winning games, it doesn't mean we're gonna cross that team off the list or cross those guys off the list. But certainly, going out to see you fight to drive that tying run in the last inning of your travel ball game is something that's really important. If you can have a selfless at bat and hit a ground ball to second with one out and a man on third to tie the ball game, that has just as much value to us from a teammate and a recruiting standpoint as it does to see you come up and hit a bomb in the seventh inning when your team's up or down by 5 and the game's pretty much already decided. So having that, it's really a baseball IQ question. If you can come in and understand the situation and know how to kind of be selfless and put yourself on the line for your team, that's just another valuable box that you can check from a recruiting standpoint, is saying, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know how to get my job done in this situation. That says a lot about you as a player, in addition to your ability to hit a home run or strike out the side or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and like you said, it gets lost because it's showcase baseball, and for some reason we've kind of lost the idea of like, what, like at the end of the day, there's still a winner and there's still a loser no matter what style of baseball game it is. And for me, like, you know, I want guys that are willing to do the things to win the game. Are you going to stay in there and take the hit by pitch to score the run? Are you going to put the bunt down in the situation that we need to do it in? Are you going to do the little things that, you know, are asked of you to help your team win? Because at the end of the day, it's the same thing when you get to college. Like, you're playing to win. Winner, you're not there just to play and have fun. Like, yes, have fun, but you're there to win. People are there to, you're there to win baseball games. So, and like, I'll give a little shout out to one of our guys, Patrick Mazzamaro. We were playing at High Point, and seventh inning, bottom seventh, 4-4 game. Bunt base hit the leadoff. Still second. Dirt ball read to third. Stills home to win the game. And for me, it's like that right there, no matter what, like guys are going to look at, college coaches are going to come to a game and look at things like that. and they're going to see those little things. Like, all right, he's willing to, stand in there and get smoked by 95, but he's going to get on base. He's willing to put a bunt down so the guy after him pass the baton and get the run in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's it's very similar to what we talked about at the beginning of the conversation. It's very easy to be that guy that comes up and hits a home run in a 4-4 game in the bottom of the seventh. Now, when your guy leads off with a bunt single and that next guy steps in the box, if he's just as excited to put a bunt down to get his buddy in the scoring position and get that job done as he would be to hit a double off the wall that walks it off, that's the kind of guy that any program is going to want to have with him.
Yeah. So I guess now we'll look a little bit into the more of the baseball, the metric side of it, and kind of give a little insight to some of these guys so they can start to understand some numbers. Because I think one big thing nowadays is like, oh, I have TrackMan data. It's all these cool numbers, but they don't really understand what they are. They just see a number and think, oh, that's it. It's like the spin rate thing. Everybody thinks spin rate's end all be all, but in reality, when you start looking at it, spin rate's kind of a relevant stat when it comes to numbers. So for you, like when you're looking at a pitcher's TrackMan data and Rapsodo data, whatever it's coming from, what are some like key indicators that you're looking for?
So I think what it always boils down to me is like, are you aware of the kind of pitcher that you are? So what that means to me is we have a couple of guys on our pitching staff that are huge stinker, slider, splitter guys. So those are guys where if you're looking at traditional spin rate numbers and you're just looking to make your spin rate as high as it could possibly be, you're you're not going to be able to be an effective sinker splitter guy. Now, when it comes to that slider, yeah, we're going to rip that thing and we're hoping it's got some good horizontal on it. But if I see that you're a sinker slider splitter guy and you're only chasing really high spin rate, then you have an understanding of what like good spin rate is, but I'm not so sure that that lines up with how your repertoire is going to make you effective on the mound. From a opposite standpoint, our closer Alec Burnett is a huge fastball curveball guy.
Mhm.
So he's the kind of guy that we want working north and south, and he's done an excellent job being super effective at running the fastball to the top of the zone and dropping the curveball below the zone and knowing what kind of pitcher he is. So if he was taking that same standpoint of a couple of our starting guys that are thinker splitter guys, those two guys can both be successful in their own right, but if they're both chasing the same metrics, then I'm not sure if either of them is going to be able to succeed. So I think the one thing I always look at is based on the repertoire and the arsenal of pitches you throw, are you chasing the right metrics and are you developing the way that your arsenal and your abilities are going to allow you the most success when it comes to effectiveness on the mound?
Yeah. So, big thing is like I like to say to a lot of the guys is, be good at who you are. Be the best version of yourself. So like if you're a big time IVB guy and you have big time backspin forcing, don't be a guy that pitches, try to throw the ball side to side to the bottom of the zone. If you're a guy that sinks the ball, don't be a guy that tries to throw fastballs up in the zone.
Right.
But so for you guys, like um, when you're looking at a guy, what are some things from a high school perspective now that you're not going to have all the data and stuff like what's some stuff you want to see from a pitcher when you go to watch their games?
The I mean, velo is an important thing. Like we can never escape the velo conversation. You got to be able to throw the ball hard. You have to be able to throw your breaking ball hard, and you have to have command of a third pitch more often than not. So I think guys that are ability to throw off speed pitches in the zone at any point, in any count, in any situation, is something really important. So, um, you know, again, like just as much as the assumption is we're going to be dealing with talented baseball players, like the assumption is also we're going to be dealing with guys with good fastballs. So your ability to drop a breaking ball and or a changeup into the zone or a cutter, whatever that third pitch might be, being able to throw those pitches at will is something that's super important. Can this guy take the ball out of play and get a strikeout when he's way ahead in the count? Can this guy throw that off-speed pitch for a double play instead of it only being his chase pitch? So I think being able, from a command standpoint, I think sometimes kids hear, well, I throw strikes with three pitches, but it's more in depth than that. It's more, can I create a ground ball when I need a big double play? Can I create a pop up when I need a pop up? And then when it's time for me to hunt my strikeout, am I able to drop that ball below or outside the zone and create swing and miss? So I think being able to throw those off speed pitches with effectiveness is something that really begins to separate guys.
Yeah, because and something I see sometimes into this high school world is like guys that have good fastballs, they just throw it 90% of the time. And I'm like, that's great, but you're 88, 90, a normal everyday guy once you get to college. So you're gonna have to learn how to be a pitcher more so than just a thrower, I guess, and like just throwing fastballs by guys. Have the ability to really be able to, like you said, throw a breaking ball that's a strike breaking ball, not the one that sweeps that far off the plate and you get a bad hitter to chase. Where you get to college facing better hitters, that guy's going to take it, and now you're going to have to be able to pitch with other pitches and use other things.
Right. And something that we talk a lot about here within the staff when we do bullpen days is, you know, can we like strike throwing is super important, but then can we branch off of that? So a lot of can we throw game pitches, not just bullpen pitches? I think it's easy as pitchers, especially with the data these days, to get really excited about uh, a slider with a ton of horizontal or a changeup with a ton of vertical or whatever it might be, where, if I'm throwing those pitches on the TrackMan in the pen, my numbers are off the charts. Like that's a super valuable thing. But then when I get in the game, if I'm only throwing real sweepy sliders, like you mentioned, where a hitter's not going to bite, then that takes away some of my effectiveness. If I'm throwing my fastball 94, but it's above the zone, it's hitting a right-handed batter all the time, then that 94 loses its effectiveness. So I think being able to toe that line between throwing really good bullpen and metric pitches that might make you look really good at a showcase, and then being able to translate that into a game when you're playing another team and saying, hey, I can show off these great metrics. Now I'm going to put them into use and I'm going to get through my outing throwing a lot of clean innings. That's kind of the line that we work on day to day throughout our preparation is saying, when I really need to spin it, I have that ability where I can spin it and take the ball out of the zone. But then when I need to be in the zone, I have full confidence and command in my pitches. I can drop them in there.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like nowadays there's so many numbers. So something like some of the guys don't understand too is like for me, like when I was in college and I'm making a plan, like all right, we're facing this guy today. If I see that the numbers say you can't throw your breaking ball for a strike, I'm just going to eliminate it. So now one of your weapons is gone. So now I turn you into a two-pitch guy, let's say fastball changeup. Well, I see you only like to throw changeups, when you're ahead. So now I'm just sitting dead red fastball till I get behind, and then you make an adjustment. So guys need to, like you said, have the ability to throw different pitches to make it harder for the hitters because at the end of the day, good college hitters are just going to if they know that you can't do something, they're just going to pick you apart, figure out what they can hit, and then they're going to sit on it the whole day.
Absolutely, absolutely, and in a very similar way to not being able to escape the velocity conversation, throwing strikes is always important. So, just like you said, if you have all these weapons in the chamber, you're going to behoove yourself as a pitcher to be able to use all of them, and that means being able to throw them all in the zone at will as much as out of the zone for chase, so that hitter's got more to think about once he steps in the box and he's got to try to get a hit off you.
Awesome. So, kind of one thing we like to end with a little bit towards the back of these interviews is for you guys, like, what are you guys looking for right now in your 25 and 26 class?
Yeah, I mean we're always on the hunt, man. So I'm not gonna limit my answer to any specific positions, but arms are certainly always a factor. Every team always needs talented pitching to be there. If you're a guy, we have a number of young guys on our team that we have a kid that's done really well for us that was always a center fielder throughout high school. He's played all three outfield positions for us. So that's something that's really valuable. We have a guy that's done a really good job at the plate for us this year that came up through high school as a middle infielder. We've bounced him around almost every position in the infield between the fall and the spring now. So I think from a position player's perspective, if you're a pitcher or a catcher in one of those specialty positions, get really good at honing in your craft because your value is almost intrinsic. at those two specialty spots. If you're a guy that plays the infield or the outfield, be able to play, every position and be interchangeable in those perspectives. But I think from our end, more specifically, arms are always super important. Having guys that can help those arms behind the plate is super important. And then, guys that can play shortstop at the high school level are usually athletic enough to get interchanged throughout the field. And then, if you're in the outfield, just be super comfortable getting placed at the corners and there in center. So I know that's a little more generalized answer, but I think, if you're talking about us specifically, we're looking for talented baseball players that have a good baseball IQ, that want to be out there competing every day, and that are like we talked about earlier, taking care of their business off the field so that they can get that success on the field. So I think if I'm going to put a bow on it and give you a short answer, we want guys that want to play the game, regardless of, I've been a shortstop my whole life and now I got to play left field. We want guys that want to be on the field, helping the team, and if you have the ability to be out there, then we're going to find a place for you.
Perfect. Awesome. So for the guys watching, be on the lookout for Wagner at our games and some showcases, and hopefully getting to talk to Coach Reardon and Coach Noto at some point this summer. And Coach, we hope to see you at some of our events later this summer and a couple of our showcases. And just wanted to thank you again for your time and getting on today with us.
Yeah, Mac, thank you so much for having me on. Definitely, we're looking forward to being out there and talking with you and your guys and being at your events this summer as well. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.